Hi everyone, Samantha here. Welcome back to my channel. I literally had stick-on nails yesterday and I took them off. I should have just waited until I finished this video to take them off. But yeah, I cannot get my nails done because I play the veena and my veena teacher will freak if I have long nails. So today I think it's gonna work better if I vlog like this because my stand is just not working for me. Anyway, back to the video. Today my topic of conversation is around activation of anxiety or hyperactivation of anxiety, basically anxiety attacks, intense anxiety attacks, right? So one thing we need to remember, an unfortunate truth, is that society is still catching up to what it means to be sensitive to mental health issues. It's not enough to recognize the example of depression being equated to feeling unwell physically and talking about how you cannot just will away a fever or will away a headache, right? Just like people say, oh, you're depressed, why don't you go out and do something and change that? It is something that is a mental health condition. It is an energetic, emotional, and chemical imbalance, and nervous system imbalance as well. A lot of times, depression is linked to low vitamin D or low magnesium levels as well, right? So, it is a condition that is interlinked with physical conditions as well. Mental health is not taken as something that is serious, not just in that manner, but also when you talk about anxiety and anxiety attack. When someone is having an asthma attack or a heart attack in public, it's not considered bad behavior. People are not going to be like, oh my god, like they're coughing, oh they've collapsed, oh no, what is going on? They're going to get them help. They're going to make sure that the person is taken to a safer location, getting the help that they need. Similarly, when anxiety attacks happen, that can come out in different ways. It can come out in the form of intense emotional outbursts. It can come out as anger. Fear and anxiety hide behind anger a lot. And it comes out in the form of a fight or flight response. And when it comes out as a fight response, the go to deduction that people make around somebody who's having high anxiety levels is that they have bad behavior. Now, this is unfortunate because people who have high anxiety levels need more compassion and understanding to step out of anxiety. And society has not equipped us enough with awareness around what it means to be there for someone with anxiety and how to process that and how to be sensitive to that. Instead, someone who's already in a distressed state, shunning them out even more, leaving them no resolve from their anxious behaviors or anxious thoughts, and making them feel ashamed for their mental health disturbances and emergencies. Anxiety is something that is very, very easily misunderstood as bad behavior. And when people come from a place of being anxious, of whether that's anxiety around feeling rejected, feeling misunderstood, feeling discarded, feeling abandoned, or feeling unsafe within their body, feeling unsafe in a conversation, feeling attacked in a conversation, these things, when people don't know how to be sensitive to these things, the lack of sensitivity just amplifies and fuels these things even more in the person who's already feeling anxious, thereby making someone with anxiety left with no resolve from such intense emotions and feelings. And it is a mental health emergency. Panic attacks and anxiety attacks are mental health emergencies, just like physical health emergencies, because it's the hijacking of a nervous system, hijacking of your amygdala, and your nervous system is under attack. Your body has gone into a stress response, and in that state you are not in a condition to think about societal standards of behavior. It's like saying, oh, wait until we're home until you have that heart attack, or wait until we're in a private place until you have that asthma attack. It is not possible. So there is an extreme and unfortunate lack of sensitivity around people who have high anxiety levels and ways of processing and dealing with them, because their anxiety can be curbed with mere understanding and compassion instead of black marking them for having behaviors that come from a place of having heightened anxiety. So today I'm going to be talking about what you can do if you're someone who struggles with anxiety, not only to get yourself understood, but also to prevent yourself from getting misunderstood, prevent yourself from the snowballing effect of people taking your anxious self and anxiety ridden self and black marking you for it as someone who has bad behavior or who doesn't know how to behave in societally acceptable standards. One, we acknowledge that that is unfortunate that people don't have that sensitivity, and you'd be surprised the number of people who are aware of what it means to be considerate of mental health and mental health conditions also are inequipped to deal with people who are not clear cut and easy to deal with when they are their anxious selves. right? So, today I want to touch upon what you can do to take responsibility for your anxiety activation and how you can help yourself out of an intense anxiety spiral instead of relying on other people. Because chances are you're going to get misunderstood 90% of the time, especially by the people you love, when you're coming from a place of wanting to feel safe from your anxiety and your anxious behaviors are showing up and you are helplessly and hopelessly displaying anger or displaying the fight response or behaviors that are just not going to get you the resolution that you deeply need from people. I know that there is a sense of wanting to feel safe when you're feeling anxious, wanting reassurance, wanting a lot of care and comfort and understanding and sensitivity around that. Chances are you're not going to get it. But here's how you can get those things, and here are the ways by which you can practice giving those things to yourself so that you can learn to be self sufficient in managing your anxiety or anxiety attacks and knowing what you can do consciously and what you can practice doing consciously when anxiety hits such a peak that you don't know what to do with yourself and you don't know what's taken over you. There are actionable steps to practice when activation of anxiety is persistent. And even if it's not persistent, if you're going through a phase in your life where it has become persistent, or if you're going through a stressful time, or you've been through trauma that has brought about the onset of intense anxious episodes, here's what you can do to calm yourself and bank on yourself and feel safe with yourself so that the onus of making you feel safe is not on anybody else. The more we rely on the external locus of control and give the external world, even our closest loved ones, the responsibility to make us feel better and help us step out of our anxiety, the more risky it is because we're more susceptible to judgment or being misunderstood or our actions being considered as something deliberate and not something that's happening to us instead of it being something that we're doing consciously or behaving consciously in those ways. So, here are things to know if you're someone who struggles with intense anxiety attacks. Number one, remove yourself from the situation. If you are having intense anxiety and you're texting somebody, switch off the phone. Try and bring awareness that, okay, as soon as you feel that intense anxiety rushing to your head, know that you need to remove yourself from the conversation, from the situation, from the people around you. If you are in person, communicate it. Just say, give me 5 minutes, I'll be back, or give me 10 minutes, I'll be back. Try and just leave the situation. If you're texting someone, if you're on call with someone, say, hey, I will get back to you, just give me 5 minutes. You don't need to explain why, you don't need to explain anything. Just say, I will get back to you, give me 5 minutes or 10 minutes. A few minutes, I will get back to you. Switch off the phone, stop texting, stop trying to reach out to the person, stop trying to get resolve from the person who's the source of your anxiety in that moment. Because when you are in an anxious state, not only are all of your senses heightened, you're also filtering out everything that could help you because you're only hyper vigilant about everything that is a threat. So even if there's a 2% threat and there's 98% of a chance at resolution in that moment, when you are feeling extreme anxiety, you're going to react to that 2% threat. You are not a safe person to anybody around you when you are extremely anxious. And this is not your fault. You are just emotionally volatile right now, and you could say or do anything that could set off the wrong chain of events, that could get you rejected even more, that could get you misunderstood, and that could make you black marked for someone who's behaving badly. So remove yourself from the situation. No matter how badly you want to continue talking to somebody, if you're feeling intense anxiety, practice becoming aware of that anxiety and just remove yourself from the situation. Get out of there. Go where you need to go. Do what you need to do. It is a secondary issue if someone follows you or comes behind you when you are trying to create that space and distance, because then the chain of events that happen, you do not need to blame yourself, okay? Because one thing that you should do is remove yourself. Try and say actively that I just need some space. I will come back and talk to you. Try to get yourself out of that situation even if people follow you, because you are going to react in ways that is not going to be acceptable, because anxiety puts our body and our minds in a state of extreme irrationality, and you're just trying to survive and you're going to fight against anything that's thrown at you in that state. So try and remove yourself. Remember to consciously practice just stopping the conversation, just stopping being around people. If you're feeling that intense anxiety, leave. And I'm not for stonewalling or leaving a situation for weeks or months on end. I'm talking about just a few minutes. When you recognize, that is one thing that we should do. When you recognize that, okay, I'm hyperactivating or I'm activating, the number one go to solution immediately to that must be, okay, I should stop in all interactions. I should take myself to a place where I can be alone. It is isolating yourself in that moment, because like I said, the world is not equipped to deal, and people are not, especially our loved ones, they're not equipped to deal and understand you through the way you're behaving, by gauging at what is the underlying cause of your behavior. Chances are you're not going to get the resolution you need by acting out your anxious impulses. If you're feeling anxiety, that's going to come out in ugly ways. And while there's utmost compassion for that in the world of mental health, you need to have compassion for that more than anybody else ever will, because people are not going to have compassion to that beyond their threshold to put up with that in any capacity or manner. So, yes, it is your responsibility to save yourself in this situation. Nobody you love is going to be like, oh, she's being angry towards me because she's anxious. Oh, I should be compassionate. No, if you're spewing out anger, people are going to react, and that's the last thing you need when anger is what's coming out as a result of your intense anxiety, and things are just going to get worse. Your body is already in a stress response. The last thing it needs is for more stressful stimuli to react to, and for that to pile on. So remove yourself from the situation. Practice doing that. If you're somebody with an anxious attachment and your go to is to keep texting when you're anxious, you keep trying to get resolve from the person making you anxious, keep communicating, stop. Remove, remove, remove yourself from that situation. Switch off that phone, stop texting, isolate yourself, and here's step two after that. Number two, once you've removed yourself from a situation, if you're in a public place, maybe you've gone to a public washroom, maybe you're at home, you've gone to your room, play out the anxious behaviors, play out that anxious energy, as in let your body and mind express that anxiety in a way that throws it out of your system. So you can scream into a pillow, you can punch your pillows, you can tighten your muscles, you can, hold your head, you can play out those anxious behaviors, because all said and done, there is a need for release of this energy that has come to the surface and that has built up. You need to release it. So whether you release it through jumping up and down, or going on a run, or punching a pillow, or screaming into a pillow, whatever it is that you need to do, like clutching your head or tightening your muscles and like heavy breathing, whatever you need to do to get that anxious energy out, do it. Do it, but in the comfort and safety of your own solitude. Nobody else needs to see that, because it's just going to scare people. A lot of the times, intense anxiety is linked to self harm. So I would advise against it. And that's only when you've piled on so much without enough release, and you've contained it and you're trying to contain it to the best of your ability, to the point where your body mind complex cannot take it anymore. That's why it's important, when you're feeling anxious, to release that anxiety through movement, through doing something, through release. But do it in a way that is not going to work against you, or work against you feeling understood, or accepted later on by the people you love, by the people around you, by society, right? So second step is to release that pent up energy that's coming to the surface, bubbling up. The anxiety is stuck in your heart, in your shoulders, the upper part of your neck, your head, right? So those things are begging for your attention to be released. So release them in ways that feel appropriate. Find what works for you. For some people, scribbling on a notepad works. For some people, punching pillows work, or screaming into the pillow works, or just crying, letting out a good cry works. I know it's very difficult to do this, especially when you have people who are not allowing you to be alone in your space. But try and communicate that with them. Be like, hey, when I'm in this state, I need to release that energy, and I don't want to be confronted when I'm releasing that energy. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want you to try and help me when I'm in that state. I want to be left alone so I can express that energy and throw it out. The more you're aware of your need to do that, the more you can communicate the need for space around it, right? Otherwise, if you're screaming into your pillow and, for example, your parents can hear you, they're going to freak out and be like, what's wrong? Maybe you can communicate to people around you and say that, hey, I need to do this so I can feel better, so I need you to let me be while I do this. So, step one, isolate yourself. Step two, let the anxiety out, release it, find ways by which you can release it, because then you can begin to settle down. Because otherwise, your brain and your rationality is just clouded by your need to release. And if people are around you at that time, you're going to release it outwardly towards them, and they're going to get hurt, either emotionally or, God forbid, any other way, right? So yeah, again, I say this with utmost understanding and compassion around anxiety. It's a very, 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 very tricky thing to navigate and not be misunderstood for. I have a lot of compassion around this, so you should have compassion to yourself as well. Know that you're not an ill behaved person, you're not a bad person, you're not somebody who's a misfit, who doesn't know how to be an adult. None of these things are true. You are having something that is a mental health emergency, and you are completely capable of equipping yourself with the right tools and the right practices to help yourself through this. And eventually, when you know how to do this for yourself and you know exactly what you will need and what will help, which these are the steps to equip yourself with that knowledge, you will be able to communicate to your loved ones how to get you out of this state when you do go into this state again, and it will not be misunderstood further. So first, show up for yourself and understand yourself and what you need in these moments of intense anxiety. Then it'll be much more easier to not be misunderstood and not be judged or black marked for having anxious impulses or responses, right? So two, you have to have that emotional release. Number three, once you've calmed down a little bit and that release has happened, write down what you're telling yourself, what's making you anxious. What is the story or the stories that you're telling yourself around this particular situation? Identify, your core negative beliefs about the situation, or what is it that you're fearing. Identify the source of your anxiety. Often in attachment work, it's the narratives that we're telling ourselves, the negative stories that we're telling ourselves that are in alignment with our core negative beliefs or core wounds. Things like I am unsafe, I'm misunderstood, I will be abandoned, I am bad, etc., etc. So write down if possible, or if you cannot write down right away, maybe ask yourself, okay, what am I making this mean? I had an argument with my partner, for example, or like I had an argument with my parents and they said something and that was not at all my intention and they assumed that it was my intention. What am I feeling in this moment? I am misunderstood, and thereby being misunderstood leads me to eventually being rejected, which is being abandoned, and then therefore I'm unsafe, because a lot of anxiously attached people associate being rejected and abandoned with a lack of safety. They see it as a threat to their survival, right? So it's a huge thing for your it's a heavy thing for your nervous system and your body to be responding to. So ask yourself, what's making you feel unsafe right now? Why is your anxiety acting up? And identify what it's, for example, okay, my parents are misunderstanding me, and therefore I will be judged and black marked, outcasted and unsafe. I won't be accepted, I won't feel loved, I won't be, like in tune with them, I'll be abandoned, emotionally abandoned. If nothing else, obviously your parents are not going to throw you out on the street, but they will never tune into me emotionally, and I'll be emotionally abandoned, and that doesn't feel safe to me. Whatever it is, notice what the current situation or conversation is making you feel misunderstood. Okay, acknowledge that, sit with that for a while and be like, okay, I feel misunderstood. Okay, because now that you've taken yourself out of the equation where you could react to something drastically, you've released the emotion in a manner that's contained and in a manner that helps. Now you're questioning what is making you feel the way you feel. Then after that, you can write down or proceed to tell yourself or ask yourself, when do I remember a time where my parents understood me, like in the recent past? What did my parents understand about me recently? Like, did I was I able to have a conversation with my dad, or even if not parents, partner? Did they understand me in this particular way, or did they, accept me in this particular way? Were they able to see me clearly for who I was in this particular way? When are the times from my recent past with this person um, opposite to what is triggering me right now? Okay, find proof of the opposite of what's triggering you from your association with the person. And even if there is no opposing proof, which is highly unlikely, if this is someone who's not closely related to you, someone who's not, a part of your life at all, forget the person. Think about times you were understood by other people. If not this particular person, maybe this person's a colleague and you just started work at this place and they're making you feel misunderstood. The wound is around feeling misunderstood. The unsafety you're deriving is from feeling misunderstood. So why does being misunderstood affect you? Okay, you know that, you've understood that, right? Now think about times where you felt understood by people who are close to you. So equilibrate that experience of, the anxiety, equilibrate what's causing that anxiety with memories of the opposite of what makes you anxious, from either the source itself, like the source of your anxiety or the person or the situation, from memories with them in your past where they were embodying the traits that were opposing what makes you anxious, or even if it's not about the person, just revisit times where you the opposite of what's making you anxious was prominent or prevalent in your life. So all the times you felt accepted and understood. Okay, once you equilibrate that experience, step 5 would be then to, I do this, invoke higher power. Invoke higher power, whether that's someone you believe in, whether that's God, or whether that's the universe, and just surrender. Okay, like I've done my best to step out of this. Just I surrender everything that I'm feeling to you. You help me out of it. You help me come out of this place. Turn to something that's bigger than you. I would say this is a step that's optional, but I would say that it works. As soon as you step out and you've questioned and you've narrated the opposite of the stories, surrender those feelings that you're feeling to higher power and ask for help from God, from the universe, from any God that you believe in, even from your own higher self for that matter. Ask for help then. Be like, okay, I've done my best to step out of this. Please help me. I surrender these feelings to you. Just help me out. Okay? So that really helps, give up control. Not in a way that's like it's uncontrolled, but like you've done what you can to control it. Now, what's beyond your control, you surrender it and you give it to somebody who's more equipped. Right? So that is step 5. Step 6, take deep breaths. Do some breath work, take deep breaths. Step 7, ask yourself what you would need now to further feel better and how you could communicate that to the person that you're dealing with, and what would help you out of this situation, and how you can communicate what you need, identify what you need first, and then communicate what you need in a more healthy, balanced way that can guarantee your safety and guarantee you getting your needs met. For example, if it's to feel understood, now you can go communicate it from a regulated place after taking space so that people can feel more receptive to hearing you out, as opposed to feeling defensive when you approach them from a place of you're not understanding me. That doesn't lead to being understood, and you're inherently not getting what your anxiety wants to get in order to feel relief, right? Your anxious self, right? So yeah, these are steps to practice. I would say once you can have the first step and the second step down, it's all uphill from there. The major thing that needs to be practiced is removing yourself from the situation, removing trying to get resolution for heightened anxiety from people that are feeding that anxiety in that moment, or situations like a fight that's feeding that anxiety in the moment. Actually, I would add somatic work to step 6. When you do breath work, like taking deep breaths, also try and identify where in your body any remnants of anxiety are there. Like, is your chest tightening? You can also do this with the release step, like step 2. Like, the order of the steps can be rearranged based on what works for you, what you find works for you. Like, for example, when you're releasing that anxiety, you can also become very aware of where in your body you're feeling what. Like, you're feeling tightness in your chest, in your head, like warmth in your ears, or like like a tingling sensation all up and down your body, shivering. Identify your physical somatic sensations and then proceed to become more and more aware of, okay, this is what's happening to me. So you can do this also with the breath work step number 6, becoming aware of different sensations in your body. The more you are aware and the more you witness them, the more you're creating distance between the physical experience of it and your awareness, or your watch yourself and the witness. You become the witness to these feelings as opposed to being the one who's feeling those feelings. So once you do that, there's also somatic processes you can do. For example, if you feel like anxiety is visually represented by a crumpled paper in the middle of your chest, you can try and remove that paper and straighten it out. Or like if there's overthinking and it feels like a ball of yarn in your head, you can pull out the thread and pull out those visual somatic exercises also to reduce the sensation. EFT tapping as well. You can tap away remnants of anxious feelings after you've done the work, after you've released, after you've identified what's making you anxious. Or you can even do this before you begin the identification process and stuff. So these are the steps to deal with hyperactivation. It is easier said than done, but once you have step 1 and step 2 down, you are well on your way to becoming more and more equipped dealing with and handling intense anxiety or anxiety and panic attacks. There's not enough information or talk on resolution around this openly. There's not enough compassion or understanding for these things. So very important, because we do live in a high stress world. We are all, most of us are living very high stress lifestyles, and the source of stress can come from relationships, job, career, money, work, everything. Like so many things can be family, so many things can be a source of such strong stressors, and stress is the number one peace killer. Like stress can really, really mess people's minds and bodies up, and like there needs to be more awareness about how much stress contributes, and persistent stress contributes to like dysregulation and fight or flight responses, stress responses, being in that sympathetic nervous system zone. These are 7 actionable steps that you can take to actively take care of yourself during anxiety attacks and know what you can do. This is like a safety program or like a safety plan, a safety kit, because anxiety is difficult and there's increasing anxiety in the world today. That's why young teenagers going to school, going to college, or picking up cigarettes. There are not healthy coping mechanisms out there. So this is one way by which I think a lot of people can practice learning how to manage anxiety and anxiety attacks more and more, as opposed to you know being susceptible to being judged, misunderstood, and not having the resolve or help that they need. And if you're the loved one of someone with anxiety, maybe helping them learn these steps would be very, very big of you, instead of boxing them into definitions of having bad behavior, or boxing them into definitions of being a child and not knowing how to be an adult. These are not notions that anybody with anxiety needs to be hearing. They need your support, they need your acceptance, they need your love, they need your compassion, understanding, in order to be able to feel empowered to handle their anxiety, because chances are they do not have it under control. It's not at all intentional, it's not something they're trying to do. It's happening and they need help. So hope this helps, and thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the post notification so we can stay connected, and I will see you next time. The tarot video part 2 is due, and I will be shooting that shortly. Thank you. Bye.